We'd like to welcome you to our first episode of our Woman Becoming Wednesday. Our first guest today is Shawny Miller, and we'd like to welcome her as our first guest. We are very honored to have you. Shawny is wife and mother extraordinaire, but she also has a prayer ministry, and she is also a licensed clinical social worker and has her own practice where she counsels men and women in her practice about how to deal with everyday life. So we're going to get started asking her some questions and sharing about herself and how she has become the woman she is today. So Shawny, welcome again.
Thank you.
And we'd just like to ask you, tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are for our viewers.
Okay, I'm still trying to decide.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, so I'm an island girl. I was raised and born in the islands of Bermuda. And then in 1997, I met my love of my life. And so that's how I ended up to live here in Atlanta. So I love traveling, I love people, I love meeting new people, I love doing new things, I love God's people, I love praying, and I love just being who I am each day and learning who that person is.
Okay, good. And so the next question we have for you is, how did you become the woman you are today? How do you feel like you got on that journey?
Wow.
Indeed.
I think we're right. I think there's so many things that have happened in my life. Even driving here this morning, I was thinking about a sad time in my life. I think that kind of defined where I am today. And I was a teenager, and I was very depressed, and I was looking for attention, starving for attention, I think, from my father, who was a great provider, who is a great provider, but who did not have the emotional connection, I guess, that I needed. And so I remember that sad time in my life and really realizing how important it is to be connected to each other. And that kind of transition to me even going into the field of working with people with mental health issues and dealing with emotions and the complexities of life. And then outside of that, of course, I would say that my mother was another key piece to me becoming the woman that I am, because she raised us to be pretty independent. I think with having a mother like her who was strong, it made it so that you weren't afraid to try new things and to be all that you could be. So.
I can second that. Who has influenced you the most as far as becoming the woman you are today, apart from your mom?
Okay, so I would say there was a teacher that I had, and her name is Miss Dorm Thompson. She's still in Bermuda, and she was very affirming to me, and also very educated, very warm, and she actually was over theatrics in my school, so I did a lot of plays with her. But then also I got to see her at home, and as well as to see her in the role of being a mother and a wife and so forth. And then probably, can't remember if it's maybe 5 to 8 years ago, she went back to school and got her PhD. And so that kind of blessed me that you're never too old, and to keep kind of expanding yourself and your vision. So that impacted me a lot, because it brought me to a place where there's no limits. And then of course I would also say my husband, because he's the kind of man that is very supportive. And then even with me doing some of the missions work that I do, it takes a strong man to let a woman really grow in her calling and to be able to leave and the family not fall apart.
Right.
So he's a wonderful father, and makes it really easy for me to be the woman that I am today, which is that woman who's not afraid to try and to begin again if you need to.
That's good. That's good, because we do need someone to back us, because it's hard to do what you love without someone backing you. So one of the questions I always love to ask people, and we're going to ask you, what do you think is the biggest challenge or issue facing women today?
Probably The biggest issue, I think, is being ourselves and not letting other people's opinions stop you from going that extra length and being the woman that God has called you to be.
Yes.
Because at every turn, sometimes as women, we look at each other and we have, because of our insecurities sometimes, I think, we have these opinions. We try to read the motives or the heart of the other person and say, she's doing this because of that, and really, I think it becomes a big challenge because a person who's on the other side of that judgment then has to make a choice. Do I keep going and walking where I think God has called me to, or do I pause because this person is criticizing how I'm doing things?
Yes.
And it's sad because I think that as women we should be coming together and lifting each other up because we're nurturers, right?
Yes.
We know the impact and the power of words,
Right.
and not even just words. It could be that attitude, that grimace that we give to someone, that
Right.
the facial expression that is non-affirming. And so as women, I think that challenge is to stay centered on where you're supposed to be, whatever that work is that you put your hands to, and kind of moving forward in spite of.
Okay. That's good. That is good, because I can say, and that probably, when the wall goes up, that's it. Because I might have sometimes even we read that wrong, because it may be not even that it's what you thought they were thinking.
Right.
You just assumed what they were thinking.
Right.
And then that causes you to stop too, because you're like, oh, well, I just won't, because,
Right.
So I've found myself in that same situation. What about you? What would you say? Is there anything that you would say has caused you to pause in the way someone reacted?
I definitely think not more so the way someone reacted, but the way I reacted. Something I've definitely been working on lately is learning that I can't control everything around me.
Right.
I can only control myself. And learning that and really honing in on that fact has, the peace that I feel when I'm around other people who are chaotic and just negative, and I'm just like so peaceful. It's like I can't control everything around me. I can only control me. I know how I need to react to the situation for me to still be at peace and to be able to live with the decisions that I'm gonna make today.
Right.
So that's something I've definitely been working on, and it's been hard because I'm quick with the attitude.
Where you might have got that from?
I have no idea. I don't know
where you got that from.
I'm very quick.
We don't know where she got that from.
Quick with the attitude and the silent treatment, like, okay, that's what we're doing today. Okay, well, you got an attitude, I got an attitude too. So
We're in prayer about that.
Yes,
we're in prayer about that.
It's okay.
Yeah, okay.
It happens. It's okay. Just learn from it and don't make it a habit.
So our final question for you, Shawnette, is if you could go back to your younger self, what advice would you give to a younger Shawnette? What would you say to her?
Probably to keep trying in the midst of failure. Because I think sometimes when we try things and it doesn't work, we give up. And we think, oh, that's not for me. And I can remember as recently as 97, I think is when I got married in 97. 2001 is when I finished grad school. But when I finished grad school, I took the licensure exam and I didn't pass. And so I put it off for like years and years and years. And then almost 10 years later is when I took the exam again. I took a harder test, right? Because the first one was just the regular LMSW, so then the LCSW I took 10 years later. And I was in a different place. But the fact that it took that long, was maybe some years that were wasted. And so I would say that even when you fail, don't give up. Try it again. Do it a little differently. And of course, when I did it the second time, I did it a lot differently in terms of my strategy and how I studied, and then even with just taking practice tests. But I think that's what I would tell my younger self. Even when things kind of don't go as you planned the first time, just because you didn't get it right then, it doesn't mean to stop. It just means rework your plan, start over, and then do it with energy, do it with fun in your heart and laughter, and move forward.
That is
That's
good advice.
Great.
That's
Yes,
great advice. So we're going to quote you on that. That's your quote. Keep trying in the
Keep
midst
trying.
of failure. That is
That's
good. That's
really
great
good.
advice. Well, we have really enjoyed you being here and appreciate you coming to speak to us and giving just a little bit of advice to our audience and, you know, to us about, you know, how you have become and continue to become the women that you are on this journey. And anything else that you would like to say to our viewers, to yourself?
Well, just to come out of the box. Whatever it is that you've been dreaming about, whatever you've envisioned for yourself and for your life, just realize that it doesn't have to be tapered in a square box. You know, you can be an oval box. You know? You can just kind of let the rivers kind of flow out of your box if you want to.
Yes.
Right? But we have to, I think, as women, just learn how to be ourselves and don't put any limits on who that is. Because we're always evolving, we're always changing. And the only way that we're really going to impact others, I think, is just to be authentic. You know, be yourself.
Yes.
And grow with yourself.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, you know, we're spreading the love when we do that, because it's not just for ourselves.
Awesome.
K Classic.
Well, we'd like to thank you all for joining us and thank Shawnette for allowing us to go into Pro High School.
They told you that you couldn't do it 'cause you're washed up. Ain't like them bad girls.